What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for March 16th, 2020. Hope everyone is doing well out there. Obviously, things are pretty crazy right now, so stay safe, be smart, and all of that stuff. But let's jump into the Star Citizen news this week. Let's try and take a moment and think about something that we enjoy, right? So, patch notes. There is 3.9 Evocati testing going on. I'm part of the Evocati, so I will not be leaking any of that information, as not only is it part of an NDA that I'm involved with, but I feel like even if I wasn't involved with an NDA, it's one of those things that CIG doesn't want out there, because a lot of these things are work in progress coming online as the Evocati test is going on. So a lot of the information that gets out there sometimes is a little bit misinformed. So I usually, or actually I don't share the Evocati notes at all, and will not be until we reach the PTU, open PTU phase. Roadmap updates, we really didn't have any this week. They just said things were progressing, and they are apparently very slowly, maybe affected by what's going on out there. I think we'll see over the next week or so how the all the news that's going on is going to affect Star Citizen, and specifically Star Citizen 3.9. But I will tell you that a dev showed up in chat today and said they're considering bringing home their dev boxes to make sure they get 3.9 out to us. So the idea that 3.9 might make it to the PTU where we're able to play it seems like a reality, but keep in mind that it's probably going to be pretty rushed. It's probably going to be not very clean in terms of pretty buggy, unstable, things like that. So you'll be able to most likely see some of the features of 3.9, but I would imagine that there'll be some issues involved. Now, the heavy part of the news this week was the video updates. So we had an Inside Star Citizen, and we'll start with that. They start out with mining consumables. So in case you're not familiar with what mining consumables are, Dan Truffin gives you a quick explanation here.
With the new mining consumables for 3.9, we are trying to expand on what we did with the mining lasers for 3.8 and kind of offer the same option, but in more of an active role. This was not in our original design for mining. This is something that just came up the more we saw people play, the more we played the game ourselves. Where the mining lasers are something you have to equip before, and that's it, you're stuck with that mining laser. A mining consumable is something that you equip, it's a sub-item of the laser. They need to make sure they have a laser that has open slots for it. Certain lasers have none. Once equipped, the laser on the prospector or on the mole will actually give you feedback that the consumable has been activated. Each consumable looks different, so you'll notice as soon as you punch one in, the beam will change. There'll be different sounds, different effects on the rock. It'll tell you that the consumable is active, so you can lower the instability, you can lower resistances. Certain consumables will give you some bonus, but also remove some other thing from you, make it harder some other ways. And while you're playing, based on the rocks you encounter, the challenges offered by that rock or the environment, you can use one of those consumables or more of those consumables at the same time to change the parameters of the mining operation.
And like Dan said, this wasn't part of the original concept of the mining design, and I like that. What do you guys think? Let me know below. The ability to give yourself a bit more variety while mining seems kind of fun to me. I actually found a rock yesterday that I could not mine with a helix on a prospector, no matter what I did. Now, I know I mine a lot, but I didn't know that overclocking actually has something to add to the helix laser, or to any laser for that matter. So I just kind of found that out the other day. It's really the first rock that I've ever needed to overclock, and then I found another one this morning. So it's been quite nice, and these would come in handy in those situations as well for non-helix users, right? What about the mole? Are there any differences there? And they kind of share that with us here.
So with the Argo mole, since that is a cooperative type of gameplay ship, we are giving each seat control over its own consumables. Each mining laser can equip consumable based on what's equipped there. If it's a helix, you will have 3 consumable slots. So in total, nine consumable slots for the Argo mole. So that leaves room for a lot of combinations where players can prepare ahead and go, hey, you equip that, you equip that, you equip that. And then it'll just amplify when it's basically more than the sum of its parts, what you're going to get if you play this right.
The mole seems like it's going to be really cool because it allows us to store a high number of these consumables and combine them together with different lasers. Now, this is very important that the current rocks that we're mining in Star Citizen change, because pretty much like I just said, any rock can be mined with a helix laser, just one. So the idea that certain rocks are out there that are required to use the Argo Mole, similar to certain rocks are required to use a helix. We need to have more variety out there than what we currently have to make this work worth it. There has been mention of the Quantanium, so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it does seem like that variety is going to make it into Star Citizen, but I hope to see more variety just in general with all of the rocks that we mine, not just one type. Although I imagine in 3.9, many people will be mining as much of the most valuable and interesting and different stuff than we have in the past. They also had an Asperia Prowler feature, and on this segment, they're basically just preparing our wallets for another alien ship coming to life. The ship seems really cool. It's a drop ship. There's no glass, no external views whatsoever. It's multi-level, has a very unique cockpit that the HUD moves as you move. The cockpit slides back and forth. Very cool. What are your thoughts? Do you like the ship and want to fly it with your friends, or is it a pass for you, and why? Now, I obviously know with everything that's going on in the world that it's kind of bad timing for a ship sale for them, so I hope it does go well. Calling All Devs came back this week. It replaced Star Citizen Live, and the most upvoted question was about Squadron 42 and its status, and I like that they decided to, instead of just answer that one question very quickly, they dedicated an entire episode to it. We've really been left in the dark for incredibly long on this subject, so it's nice that they finally took the time out for us. So why has the roadmap not been updated?
What's the deal with the Squadron 42 roadmap? Why haven't we updated it?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna go get a drink.
3 hours later. Exactly. No, the roadmap, honestly, though, it's one thing that, I've looked at more and more recently, and other people on the team, and we were scratching our heads too, going, wait, hold on, what's going on here? The roadmap as it currently exists, starting chapters at the top, going to the bottom, and just, spreading out horizontally, it doesn't make sense. There's so many things that we do, a majority of what we do crosses all chapters.
I like this answer in the sense that it just made sense. The way the roadmap is laid out, it doesn't really represent how they're developing the game, because they're still working on the tech and not just one chapter at a time kind of scenario. So the way they have it laid out is kind of weird. If the game was feature complete and they were polishing each mission as they went down the line, then you can visually see what kind of progress they were making on each chapter, and it would make sense. But the current times, it just doesn't really work with what they're trying to say. So how are they going to communicate this better? They brought Tyler Wicken on, and he shared some info about that with us.
You may have seen recently we did an AMA on prisons, so we would like to continue doing those AMAs more regularly and actually talk Squadron 42 when we can. Like Brian mentioned, we don't want to spoil the game, but as often as we can, when it makes sense, if we can do some AMAs surrounding different aspects of Squadron 42, we'll take those opportunities. One of the favorite parts of Inside Star Citizen, the Sprint Report, we're going to start leveraging the Sprint Report for Squadron 42 content again as often as we can. You kind of probably see the pattern here is that we just want to start injecting more Squadron 42 content into our regular communications, but also getting creative and seeing if we can introduce some new stuff. For example, we might do some fun regular video check-ins with Brian, with you, and the Squadron 42 team. You know about that, right?
Sure, yeah.
A lot of good ideas here. I love that video content's been going to be involved in this. I've been saying more and more and more. They need to spend more time on showing us things and spending more time on the video content and less time with the marketing content that we've been getting lately. But I think that this will probably be very polished and PR all over it. So as long as we're getting some updates and seeing what's going on with the game as well as hearing about it, I don't really mind. I just don't think video content has been leveraged enough over the years, and there's been just so many throwaway SCLs that could have been replaced by a sprint report for Squadron 42 that they just mentioned earlier. We've heard a lot about the bartender as well, and we understand here that it's more than just serving drinks.
A bartender.
The bartender, absolutely.
The bartender is just the wrapper that we're using to develop this. What are we developing with the bartender?
So basically, what we're doing with the bartender and why we are working for so long on the bartender is because the bartender is one of these classic examples that encapsulates so many different problems that are used in different behaviors. So first of all, right now, the bartender is actually just a vendor. So we have vendors in Squadron 42 and we have vendor in PU, and there would be no difference in behavior except like their attitude, their skill, and their personality, right? So some bartenders might ask you what you want, some bartenders might not ask you, or some vendors actually might not ask you what you want, and they're just gonna wait for you to interact with them.
So it's very clear that this is a model for future NPCs, not just bartenders, but anyone who's ever played a CR game in the past knows that the bartender is very important. They share missions with you, you go to them, they're almost like your psychologist in the game, kind of, right? So a lot of things revolve around the bartender, so that's another reason I've been saying this for a long time as well, that's why they're starting with that, because the bartender is a very center character in all Chris Roberts games. So this also seems to hold true for Squadron 42, but also based on what we're hearing from this video, it does seem like the bartender is very Squadron 42 centric and not as Star Citizen centric at the moment. I hope we get some really interactable and exciting NPCs in Star Citizen, but again, a lot of mentions here were in Squadron 42, but of course this was a Squadron 42 calling all devs. Then we got some pretty exciting but spoilery updates from Nathan Dearsley at the end here.
Obviously, we've got planet-side locations in development. We've got stations in development. Ships, other ships from other races we're trying to go into. All sorts. A bit of everything. And part of that kind of like the review process is also always trying to find... it's really trying to make the most of people's passion. Mm-hmm. So I'd never want, someone on the team to be working on something that they don't want to work on, if that makes sense. You're not going to get much out of them. So yeah, that's generally what's been happening. And of course, dare I say it, there's a lot of cool stuff being put together for a certain show at the end of the year. So yeah.
So we get a new race of ships. My guess is the Kurthak that nobody really knows about, but has been passively mentioned a few times over the years, and that CitizenCon is Squadron 42 kind of centered, which is, I think, kind of obvious, which is why they left it in there. This was exciting until this weekend when the whole world decided it wanted to end, but we'll have to see the progress closer to CitCon and see what goes on. Whether or not CitizenCon is a video project that they put together or a gathering of a number of people, it doesn't really matter. Seeing the progress on Squadron 42 in 2020 is essential. So at the end, Nathan Dearsley also shows off his screen of the Asiedo Station, or Comare. That is a Squadron 42 major location, I guess. And it was pretty cool, but if you guys want to watch that, link will be in the description, and you guys can check that out, but I'll just kind of play some video over the screen. Now, for our other updates for the week, we had a player status AMA that kind of left the community a little bit in flux, where they mentioned that we would be eating and drinking that will result in death, but they mentioned the words "a few hours," and that kind of put me and a few other people like, whoa, 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 whoa. If we die in a few hours, this is where I have issue, and they have not clarified this yet. If we die in a few hours, that means that we will be having symptoms throughout most of that time. Now, I don't know about you guys out there, but when I'm playing the game, the second I start getting symptoms, my screen starts getting blurry, I start seeing certain things, I'm going to want to reduce those symptoms. So as far as I'm concerned, this system does become invasive to your gameplay the second you start having symptoms. So for me, if we start having symptoms after a few hours, I really don't have any issue with that. If we die after a few hours and we're having symptoms throughout, then that means we're having symptoms every 15, 20, 30 minutes, possibly, right? So that's when it does become invasive to my gameplay and where I take issues with it. And that's kind of my opinion on it, but we really do have to see when it's in our hands. So it's really hard to clarify because we don't have it in our hands and it's always going to be in flux and balanced and moved around. But in general, I don't see that as a good idea if that's the way it is. So we'll just have to see, but keep that in mind that that's the current thing, is that we either are going to die after a few hours or we start dealing with severe symptoms after a few hours. Then there was a Millennium French interview / article, and there was kind of a lot of juicy information here. A lot of wants in the article in terms of mining. So what I mean by wants is things they want to do, but we don't really know if they're going to, right? So quantum ore is going to be in the game. I think this is planned for 3.9. It's highly valuable and unstable. So you have to get it to a refinery in time and sell it before it blows your ship up. They want to chain people finding these deposits and selling them to miners and then refining them. This is obviously those wants. The idea of a person finding deposits and selling them requires coordinates and UI and all these things that we definitely don't have. So them mentioning this in the article is kind of one of those things that this is why people get upset with Star Citizen, right? Because you fall in and you get scammed somewhat, in the sense that you hear them say these things, you feel like because he was talking about it near a 3.9 feature that it's something that they're working on now, but it might not be. So keep that in mind, that stuff is probably very far away, probably not this year. Refineries are to filter out low value or inert stuff. Sounds like a change from the initial mining documentation. Not sure I like this. So the idea of the prospectors sifting out inert material is something that every mining operation from the early 1900s were able to do. So the fact that you can't do and remove tailings from your mining operation on your spaceship doesn't seem correct. I would like to see refineries matter and purify what you have, because obviously it's still ore and it's not refined ore or a bar of metal or anything like that. But at the same time, the idea of not being able to remove tailings without refining seems a little bit weird to me. They also mentioned the sale of coordinates. To be clear, again, this doesn't mean any of this is in development. Refueling gets mentioned as starting out as a proximity thing. I think that's very good, which means it will probably come sooner than later, as we have service beacons and all these things that already work with proximity. So hopefully it'll be slightly easier to turn those kind of features on. They also mentioned that Star Citizen needs more community managers. No, I think we need community managers that do more community things and do less marketing things. I think a lot of the community management right now is involved in making posts about ship sales and things like that. Although lately, with Mali coming online, it does seem like it has opened up room for more community. So we're seeing a lot more things like these AMAs and all that kind of stuff coming online as well. So let me know what you guys think about this. We have more community managers than any game I've ever seen before, so I'm not really sure we have traditional community managers. I think maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I've kind of beaten that one to death, and I don't really know how else to deal with it, but our community managers aren't your typical community managers, basically. We had a March subscriber promotion. It is flares. Sometimes we get good ones, guys. Sometimes we don't. Let's listen. They're busy with something, so they changed some colors. Okay, cool. Enjoy your flares this month. And we also had St. Patrick's Day green ships for sale. They're all on for sale individually as well. I don't think there's one for the Ursa Fortuna, but all the other ships do have individual sale pages. So I think there's like a $35 Pisces that comes with LTI. So there's all those things. If you're still interested on spending money on a spaceship game that's 8 years in development and has no real timeline of really looking like the game that you're purchasing anytime soon, at this stage in the world, go for it. If you're able to do that, go for it. I'm not, but you know, more to you. So more power to you, I guess. That's it from me today, guys. I think we had a fairly long episode. A lot of these other updates, which was kind of cool. All these, I'm getting better at finding like the little things that are going on and delivering them to you, and not just the standard Star Citizen updates like the patch notes and video updates and stuff. So I'm trying to get out there and get all the little bits to you as best I can. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys are staying safe. Wash your hands, all that stuff. And yeah, leave a like, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about the video, and definitely subscribe. There's going to be more videos like this coming out this week and over the weeks. I'm prepping for hopefully 3.9 here, so keep an eye on the YouTube channel. Hit subscribe for all the 3.9 coverage, because like I said in our answer the call, is I'm no longer working because obviously what's going on in the world. It's difficult to be a casino worker, where you can have 400 people in the same room at one time. So this is what I'm doing now, and any support is awesome. So again, leave those likes, comments, subscribes. That would be amazing. And yeah, keep an eye out for videos. I plan on doing as many as I possibly can. I'm very excited for this opportunity, actually. So we'll have to see. It's a scary time, but it's a exciting time as well. So guys, stay safe, enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one.